All right, so is there any reason to be concerned about the Eagles? They're on a bit of a losing streak now, losing back-to-back games without Jalen Hurts. So, okay, obviously that's a big, injury to have. I think if some people want to just say, it's just because they don't have their starting quarterback in, I don't care. I think that's fine, but let's just watch the tape and see if that's actually the case or if there actually are some issues. Let's see what happened against the Saints. Because, again, they put up a lot of points against Dallas, but this game, not so much. So, what's going to happen on this play that you see on the screen is just a man coverage play. And New Orleans is going to do something that we have seen them do, a lot these past 5 years or so. But even in stretches in this season, although I would acknowledge not as much this season, but still, we have seen them at times play very good coverage. Look at how when you see Minshew takes the snap, he looks down the field and there is nothing open. We are enough into the play at this point, and this is really where you would like to make a decision as to when to throw the football. The issue is that he just can't do that. Nothing is going to get open. Now, one thing that Hurts has that Minshew doesn't is they're both good athletes. I think Hurts is the better athlete. Watch as Minshew tries to scramble out. He's going to get sacked right there. Does Hurts get away from that? I don't know, maybe. But the reality is they both would have been in a tough situation in that spot. But again, how much of this is just because the Saints are good? I think a pretty big chunk of it. I mean, at the end of the day, I still feel like the sample size shows that the Eagles receivers get open pretty consistently. I think this game might have been an anomaly. But like this one's another example where it's going to be a cover 2 man on this play. So again, tough coverage to throw the football on. This might be the toughest coverage to throw the football on. Look at how Minshew, once again, takes the snap and just, steps up. We're well into the play at this point. I mean, you typically say, okay, you get about 2.5 seconds. That's what you typically feel like as a quarterback. We're 3 seconds into the play here. So, ideally, you would have wanted to make a throw a half second earlier, but again, there's nothing open, so Minshew can't really, do anything here. Minshew is going to end up getting sacked. I think you would have liked to see him get rid of the ball a little quicker in that situation, but still, just throw the ball away or something, which again, there's no denying that with Jalen Hurts out there, this is going to go better, but still, it was a tough situation that he was in, and again, do you want to blame the Eagles? To me, I more so give credit to the Saints, but whatever you want to do, this is what I saw on film. Heading over here is another interesting one where it's going to be a quarterback keeper, so you fake as though it's going to be a handoff up the middle, but then Minshew himself is going to take the ball and get up towards the top of the screen. You have Cameron Jordan that you're running this play concept to, and the reality is Cameron Jordan's just a very good player, and even though he, might not be what he once was, can still make some star plays. Watch how when this play begins, you're going to see that right here, Jordan is making sure that if it is a handoff, he's in position to make a tackle. But then, oftentimes what you do there is, this can create some issues for if the quarterback keeps it himself, can he run by you? Well, here, Minshew is not going to be able to get by Jordan. Jordan is able to really just sniff that play out completely. Was not able to go for any yards. Again, if Hurts is there, how different do we feel about the play? Probably somewhat different. I mean, I would rather the ball in Hurts' hands in that situation, but it was still very well defended by New Orleans. And I think, again, there's the two ways you could take it. You could say, okay, this is concerning that a team like New Orleans was able to play so effectively against Philadelphia, or there's the other side. It could just be that, hey, the Saints defended well in this game. You got to just give them some credit. Sometimes that's just how it works out. You got to play like this, which I thought was an interesting one to talk about. So it's going to be actually an interesting concept by New Orleans, as they're only going to rush 3 on this play, but they still have just a single safety deep. You have 2 players who are going to drop back into coverage over the middle, so kind of taking away that middle area. But for Philadelphia, you have a route that's going to be a deep route on the outside. That's a route that can absolutely get open. It's Devonta Smith on top of it, who is good, right? You get him with a one-on-one matchup on the outside, you want to take that opportunity. Watch as Minshew takes the snap on this play, and you're going to see that, it's not really open. There's not a ton of separation, but Minshew, I think correctly and smartly, is still going to say, I'm still going to take this chance. I'm still going to see if I can give my guy a shot, which I think is the right play here. Minshew does fire one up. Smith is just not quite able to make the grab on that one. Good defense. And again, do we want to get concerned about this stuff? My opinion on this is no. I don't think so, because we've seen Smith win these so consistently that I think this was just a game where, okay, they didn't quite get as open as we expect them to, and they didn't win some of their one-on-one matchups the way they typically do. That does happen. You're not going to play great football all 17 games of the season, and I think the sample size the overall sample size shows that guys like Smith and Brown get open consistently and win these one-on-ones consistently. Just because there's a game where that didn't happen, I feel like it would be overreacting to say that this is a legitimate concern come postseason time. Although heading over here, this is probably, this is another thing that I did notice, and I don't think it's the biggest reason why the Eagles struggled offensively, but it was definitely a reason, was just Minshew wasn't playing as well. I mean, that's just the reality of the situation. And I don't mean that in the sense of, some of these plays, it's like, okay, it was a tough situation. Maybe Hurst would have elevated and been able to still get some yards in some of these plays. In fact, I'm sure he would have. But I'm talking on this play, a legitimate just bad play from Minshew, where it's going to be a one-on-one matchup with, this time it's A.J. Brown on the outside. So again, good situation. Hurts is going to take the snap, and you're going to see that Brown gets wide open right here. The reality is, this just has to be a completion. Minshew's throw is going to be high, it falls incomplete, and, that's kind of a part of what the issue was for the Philadelphia Eagles. So, I like Minshew fine as a backup. I don't think he's a bad player by any means. I don't think he's played particularly, great since coming in, but, that's okay. That's fine. He is a backup. You don't expect greatness from him. I think it's fair to say that watching the tape, that even with Minshew not playing particularly well, there were other issues at play. This was a game that was not Philadelphia's best game if you take away the quarterback position. However, at the same time, I think it's also fair to say that the sample size, right? You're gonna have bad games, and it's the weird thing where if a team has 2 bad games late in the season, we act like that's now a worse team than they had those 2 bad games in the middle of the season. And sometimes it's because you haven't figured out, but sometimes it's just because you had a couple bad games. And I think it's the latter in this situation. So I'm not concerned. I still think the Eagles are the favorites in the NFC. I've been saying it pretty much all season. Again, they've had the best record in football pretty much, all season. So it makes sense for them to be the favorites. But I still do think that they are. I think that as long as Hurts comes in and is fully healthy, I think this is a team that, okay, a couple issues, fine. There is no perfect team. This team's pretty damn close. And that's why I think that they're the team that I would be the most afraid of if I'm a team in the NFC. But that's what I think. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.